scared the shit out of me. That dog running out nearly ran over his ass.
Continue on Inkwell Street for 3 miles.
Never seen so many dogs coming out and jumping at my car. I'd like to applaud him. I guess he knew what he was doing, but that scared me. Nobody home there. Looking for oncoming headlights on the trees and just hoping for no deer, which I guess is a pretty poor way to not hit deer, so I guess I'll slow down. Although I'm getting ready to get there. If I had a way to hide the car, I could stealth cam around here, but there's no way to camo this car. And that was a pretty little river. Wonder if all the crickets and frogs will show up on the video sound. Other than having the internet and how old I am and being able to drive and having, if I'm lucky, half my life behind me already, this is the best way to go back into the past ever in the best way. I don't mean that as a slight on Missouri, that it's
In
backwards or
1,000
behind.
feet, turn left onto State Highway RA.
I just mean it's good. This reminds me of the happy times and smells, sounds, sights.
Take the next left onto State Highway Raw.
State Highway Raw? Alright, you say so. I like a good raw highway.
Continue on State Highway Raw for 1.5 miles.
That's it? 1.5 miles, huh? Already got some stuck behind me.
In a quarter mile, turn right onto State Highway J. At the stop sign, turn right onto State Highway J. Continue on State Highway J for 1.5 miles.
This road sucks. There's too many fucking cars. Get out of there, you otter. That's kind of cool. Pretty sure that's an otter. It could be a very wet raccoon, maybe. They both have that sort of hunchback look to them. So I want to turn left. Then I want to turn
mile, turn left onto US 63 North. At the stop sign, turn left onto US 63 North.
Atlanta 1 mile. Would be a sad day when Atlanta is 1 mile away. Well, here we go back on this damn shit.
Continue on US 63 North for 7 miles.
Lovecraft Eldritch horror fiction. Continue how many miles? I don't know, fuck it. Okay, heater off, windows up. At least we got one last little sort of drive in there. Man, that's still hot air. 66 miles, I got an hour to go. Fuck, it's gonna be 9 o'clock. Okay.
Sort of provocative disproportion. Shafts with odd bulbous enlargements, broken columns in curious groups, and five-pointed or five-ridged arrangements of mad grotesqueness. As we drew nearer, we could see beneath certain transparent parts of the ice sheet and detect some of the tubular stone bridges that connected the crazily sprinkled structures at various heights. Of orderly streets there seemed to be none, the only broad, open swath being a mile to the left, where the ancient river had doubtless flowed through the town into the mountains. Our field glasses showed the external horizontal bands of nearly effaced sculptures and dot groups to be very prevalent, and we could half imagine what the city must once have looked like, even though most of the roofs and tower tops had necessarily perished. As a whole, it had been a complex tangle of twisted lanes and alleys, all of them deep canyons, and some little better than tunnels because of the overhanging masonry or overarching bridges. Now, outspread below us, it loomed like a dream fantasy against a westward mist, through whose northern end the low, reddish Antarctic sun of early afternoon was struggling to shine. And when for a moment that sun encountered a denser obstruction and plunged the scene into temporary shadow, the effect was subtly menacing in a way I can never hope to depict. Even the faint howling and piping of the unfelt wind in the great mountain passes behind us took on a wilder note of purposeful malignity. The last stage of our descent to the town was unusually steep and abrupt, and a rock outcropping at the edge where the grade changed led us to think that an artificial terrace had once existed there. Under the glaciation, we believed there must be a flight of steps or its equivalent. When at last we plunged into the labyrinthine town itself, clambering over fallen masonry and shrinking from the oppressive nearness and dwarfing height of omnipresent crumbling and pitched walls, our sensations again became such that I marvel at the amount of self-control we retained. Danforth was frankly jumping, and began making some offensively irrelevant speculations about the horror at the camp, which I resented all the more because I could not help sharing certain conclusions forced upon us by many features of this morbid survival from nightmare antiquity. The speculations worked on his imagination, too, for in one place, where a debris-littered alley turned a sharp corner, he insisted that he saw faint traces of ground markings which he did not like, whilst elsewhere he stopped to listen to a subtle imaginary sound from some undefined point, a muffled musical piping, he said, not unlike that of the wind in the mountain caves, yet somehow disturbingly different. The ceaseless five-pointedness of the surrounding architecture and of the few distinguishable mural arabesques had a dimly sinister suggestiveness we could not escape. It gave us a touch of terrible subconscious certainty concerning the primal entities which had reared and dwelt in this unhallowed place. Nevertheless, our scientific and adventurous souls were not wholly dead, and we mechanically carried out our program of chipping specimens from all the different rock types represented in the masonry. We wished a rather full set in order to draw better conclusions regarding the age of the place. Nothing in the great outer walls seemed to date from later than the Jurassic and Comanchean periods, nor was any piece of stone in the entire place of a greater recency than the Pliocene age. In stark certainty, we were wandering amidst a death which had reigned, at least 500,000 years, and in all probability even longer. As we proceeded through this maze of stone-shadowed twilight, we stopped at all available apertures to study interiors and investigate entrance possibilities. Some were above our reach, whilst others led only into ice-choked ruins as unroofed and barren as the rampart on the hill. One, though spacious and inviting, opened on a seemingly bottomless abyss without visible means of descent. Now and then we had a chance to study the petrified wood of a surviving shutter, and were impressed by the fabulous antiquity implied in the still discernible grain. These things had come from Mesozoic gymnosperms and conifers, especially Cretaceous cycads, and from fan palms and early angiosperms of plainly tertiary date. Nothing definitely later than the Pliocene could be discovered. In the placing of these shutters, whose edges showed the former presence of queer and long-vanished hinges, usage seemed to be varied, some being on the outer and some on the inner side of the deep.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hey,
Hey,
what's going on, son?
driving in the dark. I went on dirt roads for too long to get to the park. And had a great park about 3 p.m. Just 2 camp spots there, and of course nobody around. But
Yeah,
went before. I didn't want to sit there,
yeah, I got it.
So
You'll survive somehow.
but yeah, this one's on the river and it's got good reviews, so I should hit the Mississippi tonight.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I drink coffee at lunchtime anyway, so the chance that I would fall asleep when I get there is virtually
Pretty
nil.
slim.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in my room, and
Yeah, I heard it stormed.
man, that heavy rain. I mean, almost where you couldn't drive in it.
Yeah.
Typical mountain deluge, boy. Yeah, it really rained hard, but it's pretty, real pretty. I mean, it's just a totally different weather system
Yeah.
around the mountains here. I mean, it's really strange how that is.
I've
Yes,
enjoyed
I
that
watched
part coming across the country. The weather
Yeah.
systems are noticeable.
This room's got a TV, so I guess I'll watch Quad in the morning.
Well, if I have signal, I can watch it on the phone.
You know, the TV here is complimentary. I actually have a hard time determining exactly which parts of the room are complimentary and which are not. I guess the shower's complimentary, and
I don't know. Did you make a shower account? You usually have to create a new account with the app to use the shower.
Yeah, I probably won't be able to take a shower. I got no fucking damn password. I love you, Gerald, and I'll talk to you.
Half a mile. Turn right onto Missouri
Okay.
156 East.
I'll probably call you after the
I've had signal more or less all day, so I should be reachable from here on out, I
I
think.
hope so. Anyways, been pretty much communicative even across that wilderness area. But when you open the atlas and you look at the state, and it's just white.
Take the next right onto Missouri 156 East.
Nothing roads or anything. It's just a big blank thing for Nebraska.
Well, I'll have to double check, but I think Arthur is the smallest place
Continue on
that
Missouri
still has a
156
name
East
on the
for 17
atlas.
miles.
And I think it was 148 people.
It was 128 on the video that I saw.
Oh, really?
It was on the sign. It was 128. So it's on the city limit sign.
Yeah. Well,
They
it
were-
did
they
have
were
3 or
proud of
4 buildings. Everybody I talked to is real proud of that place, and rightfully so. And I started to sort of understand why you would not want outsiders coming in and changing anything. Cause
Well, I
Pretty
want
good.
y'all passing through and leaving money. That's what
Yeah.
I want you to do.
Yep.
And get on down the fucking road and get out of our community.
well, I didn't ask her what would happen if I was to, drive off without paying, because she didn't even ask my name.
Damn. Well,
I
it's
wrote her,
different, man.
Yeah, I
That
wrote
makes
her,
me-
gave her one of Mom's cards and wrote a little note in it about, what a reassuringly good and wholesome place it is there. So she texted me because I sent her a text to say, you didn't ask for this, but I have paid and locked up, and thank you.
My name is Gerald Blaney, so it was a pleasure not to have met you. That's funny.
Yeah, I like that place.
Well, I got my complimentary gas logs burning here, and complimentary patio, and I get to listen to there's a rushing stream outside the window, outside the door. So I get
that lake I camped beside was lapping at the shore all night. That was lovely.
Really?
Yeah. There's a big lake. It had a lot of waves in it.
Well, I hope you find a good spot tonight, and I'll call you in the morning.
All right. Sounds good.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Braziers. They seem to have become wedged in place, thus surviving the rusting of their former and probably metallic fixtures and fastenings. After a time, we came across a row of windows in the bulges of a colossal five-ridged cone of undamaged apex, which led into a vast, well-preserved room with stone flooring. But these were too high in the room to permit of descent without a rope. We had a rope with us, but did not wish to bother with this 20-foot drop unless obliged to, especially in this thin plateau air where great demands were made upon the heart action. This enormous room was probably a hall or concourse of some sort, and our electric torches showed bold, distinct, and potentially startling sculptures arranged around the walls in broad horizontal bands separated by equally broad strips of conventional arabesques. We took careful note of this spot, planning to enter here unless a more easily gained interior were encountered. Finally, though, we did encounter exactly the opening we wished, an archway about 6 feet wide and 10 feet high, marking the former end of an aerial bridge which had spanned an alley about 5 feet above the present level of glaciation. These archways, of course, were flush with upper-story floors, and in this case one of the floors still existed. The building thus accessible was a series of rectangular terraces on our left facing westward. That across the alley where the other archway yawned was a decrepit cylinder with no windows and with a curious bulge about 10 feet above the aperture. It was totally dark inside, and the archway seemed to open on a well of illimitable emptiness. Heaped debris made the entrance to the vast left-hand building doubly easy, yet for a moment we hesitated before taking advantage of the long-wished chance. For though we had penetrated into this tangle of archaic mystery, it required fresh resolution to carry us actually inside a complete and surviving building of a fabulous elder world, whose nature was becoming more and more hideously plain to us. In the end, however, we made the plunge and scrambled up over the rubble into the gaping embrasure. The floor beyond was of great slate slabs and seemed to form the outlet of a long, high corridor with sculptured walls. Observing the many inner archways which led off from it, and realizing the probable complexity of the nest of apartments within, we decided that we must begin our system of hare and hound trailblazing. Hitherto our compasses, together with frequent glimpses of the vast mountain range between the towers in our rear, had been enough to prevent our losing our way, but from now on the artificial substitute would be necessary. Accordingly, we reduced our extra paper to shreds of suitable size, placed these in a bag to be carried by Danforth, and prepared to use them as economically as safety would allow. This method would probably gain us immunity from straying, since there did not appear to be any strong air currents inside the primordial masonry. If such should develop, or if our paper supply should give out, we could of course fall back on the more secure, though more tedious and retarding method of rock chipping. Just how extensive a territory we had opened up, it was impossible to guess without a trial. The close and frequent connection of the different buildings made it likely that we might cross from one to another on bridges underneath the ice, except where impeded by local collapses and geologic rifts, for very little glaciation seemed to have entered the massive constructions. Almost all the areas of transparent ice had revealed the submerged windows as tightly shuttered, as if the town had been left in that uniform state until the glacial